This is Thriving Chiropractors, where chiropractors are supporting chiropractors and talking to chiropractors that are thriving beyond the four walls of their practice. This is Dr. Austin Cohen here with Thriving Chiros, and we are here with one of the legends of chiropractic, actually, if I may say. I know I was a little nervous, but this is Dr. Eric Plasker, as many of you are aware, and so much value and content what I think we're gonna be able to get today. And you know, the purpose of Thriving Chiro is to really help chiropractors not just survive, but to thrive. And you know, what an honor, by the way, for you to be here today. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This is great.
Wow, are you kidding me? It's an honor for me. We were just talking. I remember when you were in school. I remember when you came visit me at the office that one day, and we had a nice conversation, and look at you now. You're tearing it up, doing a great job, so congratulations to you.
Appreciate that. Appreciate all the mentorship, right? I mean, a lot of it's from guys like him. So, you know, and I think my first question is going to dive into some,
okay.
Like, I'm just going to go kind of straightforward, right? Is like, you know, you've been in chiropractic for a long time. You've done a lot of great things in the profession. 40 years, right? Books and consulting companies and practices. I mean, you've done so much. And if you look back, right, over those 40 years, and you think of some of the pivotal moments or decisions you've made in your career, could you share maybe like 2, 3, or even one that you're like, Austin, this is like the most pivotal thing I did?
Sure. I'll tell you the first thing that really hit me when I was young in practice, and I would talk and talk and talk, and nobody would listen, or nobody would hear, or nobody would get it. And I had a realization one day, and I said to myself, why spend so much time educating people on things they'll never remember when you could, in a very short period of time, speak to them in a way that they'll never forget? And that changed my life. And the whole concept that we've built on this for decades now is peers versus people. There are peers, like you and I are peers. We have conversations. They're peer-centered conversations. We talk about research. We talk about practice building, practice management, clinical findings, things like that. That's a different conversation, or a different version of a conversation, than if I'm talking to an earthling. And so what I realized was, if I could get fantastic at communicating with earthlings, then I could educate the world and never have to be there. And it changed my life.
And was there a moment where you remember sitting in a room or thinking to yourself, maybe it was like, maybe new patients weren't coming in or something, or they weren't converting, and you thought in your head, this is the moment, like the oh crap moment?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what it was. I was in my second office. I had 2 offices that I was running at the time, and we had a lot of students that would come and visit. Word got out that we had a great practice, and so I had a couple of students that were watching me adjust this older woman named Marie. And I said to Marie, I looked at the students and I said, hey guys, watch this. I said, Marie, go ahead. And Marie never missed. She never missed. She'd been coming every week for like 3 years. So Marie, tell these young whippersnappers over here, tell them what a subluxation is. And she looked at me and she said something that changed my life. She said, Dr. Plasker, a what? And I was like, a subluxation, Marie, come on, tell them what a subluxation is. You haven't missed an appointment for 3 years, every week. It's like, Dr. Plasker, what are you talking about? And I looked at these kids, they're looking at me like, I thought you're supposed to be a master educator. And I must have used the word subluxation 48,000 times with this beautiful soul. And she didn't remember the word, but she remembered the principle. She remembered how and why and all those other things. And I realized, you know what? We need to, as an industry, not just me individually, not just my team, not just my office, we need to become experts at that.
And you've heard this concept before, and I'd be interested to hear your take on this, is as a profession, when we do like report of findings and re-exam reports and just visit with patients, you know, you've heard it before, they'll remember not what you said, but how you made them feel. And I mean, what part of that do you think is like value for chiropractic as a whole as we communicate with patients?
I think it's everything, but it's not just how they feel in the moment. We have to future pace them. Mm-hmm. So we talk a lot about, in our world with the 100-year lifestyle, we have a formula called the Empire Formula. It stands for your minimum potential years remaining. It's one of our trademarks. And we put people in the future, and we get them to see, okay, so there's only one thing worse than suffering, and that's suffering for 100 years. And we don't have to say that, because we brand that. And we brand that with having them fill out exercises just really on the case history form. They just fill in a couple of, how old is the oldest grandparent in your family that ever lived or is still living? 91. How old are you? 51. Okay, you could have 40 more years based on your own family history. So here you are now at 41. What's it going to be like down the road? And that's a 10-minute conversation unless you give them something to do that sticks, and then it never leaves them. So if they figure it out for themselves, they're driving down the road. They pass one of 1,000 assisted living centers every mile in this town. I mean, they're everywhere. And they look over and they see an ambulance. Like, oh my God, I don't want to be like that. Grandma's 87. I don't want to be like that. Maybe I need to do things differently. Maybe I need to live differently. Maybe I need to take different responsibility. And even if they don't get it in the moment, in that moment, every time they go into the grocery store and it's Senior Citizens Day, they'll be reminded, because it's about them. It's not about what I want them to know. It's about giving them information in a way that it literally goes in their brain, and it just keeps spinning and circulating until they have to take care of it.
I think what's interesting is, I remember being in practice, early on, and just, I would go over with patients when I'd go over their re-exam results and be like, hey, here's where we are, and this is the progress you've made so far. And you know what I left out was the future. I would always do past and present, and I skipped the future, and here's where we're going. And so, early on, I realized that I got to do past, we got to go through present, and then we got to do future. Here's where we were, here's where we are, and here's where we're going. And that future pacing, I think, for chiropractors is something that is so key. But you're right, like not tying it to subluxation. I bet if a lot of chiropractors ask their patients why they came there, a lot of them probably think they have wellness practices. The reality is they probably have pain-based clinics, actually, right?
There's a lot of people that have patients that come in, I'll give you an example. We had a patient that came in, they were seeing another chiropractor every 3.5 weeks. I was like, why 3.5 weeks? Because that's when I feel like I need it. And I said, so what if you never felt like you needed it? It was like, wow. And I said, how would I do that? Well, if you feel it at 3.5 weeks, come at 2 weeks.
Dang.
And then you'll never get off the roller coaster. You'll never feel like you need it.
So some of these nuggets, I really hope people are kind of like jotting down some of these things and how they're going to apply this, by the way, to their practice. If you look back, I love that concept, by the way.
And by the way, did you notice that was like a 3-second conversation?
Yeah.
That's what I mean by in the first
mindset.
statement. Right. Why spend a lot of time educating things that they'll never remember when you can in split seconds give people things they'll never forget?
And I love that concept, though, of like how you speak to your peers is going to be different than how you speak to like certain people in your patients. And can you go back and think like, okay, here was some of the transformations I noticed, or here's actually some of the communication we also changed in that time that maybe a chiropractor could take with them and think, you know what, I really do need to start changing my communication around on how I communicate to patients?
Well, branding is a big deal.
Yes.
Okay, branding is a big deal because people will see you, no matter what you say, they will see your brand. So we changed our brand when we started training chiropractors, and we've trained over 12,000 chiropractors. They've exorbitant growth over the years. And so our brand at the time was a public-facing brand, LCFE, Lifetime Care for Everyone. And we stood by that. We put all of our patient education. We had LCFE, Lifetime Care for Everyone, on a lot of the branding. And the doctors did fantastic with that brand in their offices. But something changed for me when we had a public, like a newspaper or a magazine or something, called us up out of the blue one day. And they said, Dr. Plasker, what's lick fee? And I was like, what's what? It's like, lick fee. It's your brand. It's on your lick fee. And in years of teaching LCFE, Lifetime Care for Everyone, I never once said lick fee. So it took me 5 minutes to figure out what this person was referring to, and she didn't know either. So what I realized in that moment is that this is a great vision, but not a great brand. Chiropractic has a great vision right now, but not a great brand out in the world and in the marketplace. So we made a brand change. And what's was very interesting is when we shopped the book originally in 2005 to different publishing houses, one of the brands that we wanted to use was the chiropractic lifestyle. And originally they liked what we were doing. They liked the whole centenarian thing. They liked the longevity thing. It was rare. It was the future, right? They were really into that, but they hated the chiropractic lifestyle because of our brand. When I changed it from the chiropractic lifestyle to the 100-year lifestyle, we went from having no offers, we thought we liked you, to a bidding war. Oh. Just by changing the brand, same exact content. So I think what's really important as people are in their practices and they're working hard every single day, if you change your brand and you change, like we brand patient education, 100-year lifestyle, we brand it because it changes the whole conversation. If you have a really strong brand, everything that you spend a lot of time training on might vanish if you change the branding.
Yes.
Because people will come and they'll ask different questions. They'll want it differently for themselves. They'll be thinking, in our case, they'll long-term for crisis care and lifestyle care and performance-based care. So branding has a lot. I know Life University went through a brand changeover recently. So branding, companies, bigger companies, organizations, they put a lot of time and energy into branding. Chiropractors don't. They spend a lot of time visit to visit to visit. So if you can take a step back and look down at your practice and the world for a little bit and start to embrace a bigger vision, you might really see how simpler things can be.
This is, I mean, there's a group I'm a part of called Entrepreneur Organization. I think we've talked about that before, where there's 150 people in there. Not one's a chiropractor in it. And it's people that have reached a certain benchmark of revenue, and it's all business people like within this group. And what you are talking about right now is one of the biggest principles that everybody talks about. And when I started to hear that, we started to transform some of the words and the language we speak in our office. For example, we have a dental roll, right? And we give patients dental rolls throughout their visits in the office. We labeled it, we started calling it a spinal molding pillow. It helps mold your spine back to a normal shape. And so we started changing the language of IST table. We don't call it IST tables, of course, massage tables or whatever we decided to call it. But we started transforming the language in the office of all the things we call, kind of like subluxation. And I've never heard that story, by the way, lick feet. For as many times I've heard you speak, that is a great story, and business story, I think, for a lot of people. When you look back at, I think a lot of people look at you as a mentor for them for chiropractic, for sure. And when you think about your mentors, whether in chiropractic or in business, who have been some that you've had? But then I'd love to know, who do you look up to right now? Who are you listening to? What books are you reading? What's on your mind?
Great question. I have been blessed with incredible mentors. I mean, I grew up, my first chiropractor was Ernie Landy, fantastic mentor. He was a servant leader. He was very grounded philosophically. He was a lover. He treated me like a son in so many ways and just meant so much to me. I would put him at the top of the list. His practice was a practice that he took over from Reggie Gold, who was also a mentor, grounded in philosophy, a lot of volume, a lot of people. If you're not going to change the world, everything else is Mickey Mouse. Like, these are my mentors, right? And then Joe Felicia. Strategically, Joe Felicia was a mentor as a strategist. He was a brilliant strategist. And so he taught me a lot about public speaking and strategy and about anchors and about branding and repositioning in people's minds. And we spent I had him in my office for 48 hours. Lisa literally would come by and slip food under the door. It was an amazing experience. And then Alex Cox clinically, from a Gonstead clinic perspective. And so great mentors. And they were all purpose-driven. They all had long, meaningful careers that were relevant. So I never got in this game for a short-term quick fix just to make a buck or whatever. It was always from that purpose-driven perspective. And when you say today, so I'm 39 years in practice almost. I am, been married for 36 years, and I'm 61 years old with a family history of heart disease, cancer, thyroid disease, and dementia. And my brothers, who are also chiropractors, 59 and 57 years old, had a family history of heart disease, cancer, thyroid disease, and dementia. We have all lived differently. We have lived this 100-year lifestyle, this chiropractic lifestyle, and none of us have any of those conditions. We are not on any medication. Time has taught us that we are doing the right things, that these principles are sound, that we have not followed the status quo. I do not have a medicine chest in my home. I have a bathroom cabinet. You'll love the extra space. Try it. And so when you understand that and hear it, so who is my mentor now? Right now, our vision is our mentor. And the people in the world that we are just about to come out with the 100-Year Lifestyle 3rd edition. The first edition came out in 2007, became an international bestseller, and the world is aligning behind our ideas because we have stayed true. It is the single best time to be a chiropractor. And if you can look at the world and the state of the world and you're grounded and you have experience and you trust yourself and you trust our foundational roots as an industry, you will realize that the world will teach you what you need to know if you're purpose-driven, or you get mentors. We're mentors for some, you're mentors for some. There's so many great people that you could learn from. But right now, the world is teaching us who we need to be. Joe Felicia said something. He's still probably my biggest mentors, even though he's passed a while ago. But he said, Eric, he said it like this, Eric, never forget, Chiropractic never changes, but the world changes. So you have to always communicate chiropractic in a way that the world gets it.
Wow.
And so Joe Felicia's with me every day, and between that and the world, and honestly, my family, my wife, putting up with me, she keeps me balanced. We just got back from Italy, and now we're digging in to get this next book done and out there, and it'll be out before Fall CE, before Life Vision Extravaganza in September. And so the world needs us now more than ever, man. The world is in desperate need of chiropractic care more than ever.
You know what it also needs is, and I hope a lot of people hear this in your voice, is you speak with a lot of conviction, right, and a lot of belief. I mean, your mentor's your vision right now, and the people of lives you're going to transform. And I think that's really powerful. And I think in your clinic, as a chiropractor, people can read past your limiting beliefs, and they can really read past the mindset. And if you have conviction, a belief of chiropractic, doesn't matter what you say in that room.
Yeah, it's true. But let me say something, because I don't want people to misinterpret, especially if you're young in practice and new in this game. Here's what's really important. It's not about arriving somewhere. It's about the journey. I'm still on a journey. So when you commit to the journey that you and I are talking about here today, there's an audience for you. There's an audience for you based on wherever you are in your journey. There's an audience for you that's 10 times larger than your current practice. So don't say, I got to work on myself and then I'll do that. No. You're a big boy and a big girl. You can do two things at once. So commit to the journey, and you will start to attract the people that are perfect for your practice. You are perfect for them in the exact phase of the journey that you're on.
And know it's going to be hard, and there's going to be speed bumps along the way, right? I tell all my doctors that is, when it starts to get hard, to me, you're ready to break through. That's about to happen, and you got to push through that. If you go back to 1985 when Eric Plasker was walking across that stage getting his diploma from Sid Williams, probably.
Yeah.
And the 2024 version was on the other side of that stage. What advice would you give to that 1985 Eric Plasker today?
I would tell that young, red, afro-headed dude, I would say, Eric, stay true. Stay true. Because one day, if you stick around long enough, the world will align behind your ideas and the ideas that you stand for in chiropractic, and you just have to stay true. You're going to get attacked along the way. People are going to say no. People are going to put you down. They're going to criticize you in all kinds of ways. Just stay true and trust the journey. And what is amazing now, and I'm really just in the last couple of years able to say this because we have never wavered. In 39 years of practice, we have never wavered. Our first positioning statement in 1985 was raising healthy families without drugs and surgery. And then when we started teaching chiropractors in the world, it was family wellness, global impact. Then it was lifetime care for everyone, and now we're getting everybody to live their 100-year lifestyle, 100% for 100 years. We have never wavered from our journey. So I would tell all of you young people and people that are maybe stuck or wanting to thrive in practice and get to that next level, stay true. You're almost on the other side, and the world is finally aligned, or aligning, I should say, with our ideas.
Man, this is the most nuggets I've heard in about 18 minutes. I'm grateful to be able to talk to you about this, because some of these stories I haven't heard before, and I've known you for a long time, 20 years now, which is crazy to think.
Well, you've only heard like 20 years worth of stories.
Yeah, and I'm getting the other 20 years. And you're right, I think it's interesting. It's a lot of these young chiropractors can hear you now, but I think like hearing that story, for example, like the lick fee one, right? Like, that is such a great story of like just something you had to go through. That was a challenge you had to go through to.
And it cost a couple of $1 million to make that brand changeover.
Investment.
Yes.
Investment. Well, once again, thank you so much for doing this. I mean, you've been a mentor to a lot of people, myself included, of course. And I really appreciate you doing this today with us on season 1 of Thriving Chiros. So thank you.
Well, it's an honor anytime. And thanks for all that you're doing for Life University and for our profession. I appreciate you.
And this is Thriving Chiros. We are signing off. Thanks to Dr. Eric Plasker for once again helping mentor the profession and keep this profession alive. Chiropractor's got a great vision, as he said, so let's keep it going.